This is KUGAN CASSIUS for from London. We're at Trinity House here in Tower Hill for the announcement of Anthony Joshua, our Olympic gold medalist, turning professional. With me I've got Ed Robinson from Sky. Finally, Anthony decides to turn out into the pro ranks. Edwin?
Yeah, I don't think there's any harm in him taking a year in the gym, deciding what he wanted to do, because it's a big decision. And joining a boxing promoter is a bit like getting married when you haven't had a chance to have a date with them, because you don't really know how it's going to work out. So you've got to have a think about it, talk to a few people. It's a massive decision for him, and you know, he could have stayed amateur for the next Olympics, but I think he's probably made the right decision.
The majority of the Olympic squad from last year has now turned professional. Did it surprise you it's taken Anthony Joshua a year to come to this decision?
Well, he's had an injury, hasn't he, to his foot, and I think he's just matured. I've seen him in the gym quite regularly up in Sheffield, so he's been training through the injury and around the injury, and I've got to say, watching him spar up there, I've seen him improve since the Olympics. And you know, what is there for him in the amateurs? There's a Commonwealth Games next year, which will be great, but they're boxing without head guards, which is almost like pro boxing to a certain extent, especially with the WSB. You could have gone with the WSB, but then the British Lionhearts have lost their place with the World Series of Boxing. So I just think it's a good decision, really.
Is it a good thing for British boxing that he didn't give in to the lure of maybe going abroad? I understand there could have been some offers from America, which there was always going to be, but is it a good thing for us that he's decided to obviously go with a UK-based promoter, so he'll be fighting regularly on Sky Sports, etc.?
Selfishly, I think it's brilliant, because I can't wait to work with him. But there's an argument that you could go with Golden Boy, because, for example, Anthony Ogogo signed up with Golden Boy, but he's still appearing on British shows and still appearing on British TV, so he's getting the best of both worlds. So I'm a little bit surprised that Eddie Hearn's managed to secure the signature, because financially, I don't see how he can compete with the big guns in America, people like Shelley Finkel, who looked after Mark Breland and Mike Tyson for so long, and Golden Boy. But he's done it, so it's a fair play to him.
You probably are in a better position to answer this than most. From his amateur background, his limited amateur background really, because he's not been boxing for that long, but he's achieved so much in the game. How far can he go?
Of course he can go all the way. I mean, the heavyweight division's just there's a lack of talent worldwide, isn't there, really? And it's time for a new era. And I think Felix Savon beat him in the Olympics, and Joshua got the verdict. I think the final could have gone either way, but then I think Anthony Joshua was a little bit unlucky in the World Amateur Championships in the final, which he reached, which is an amazing achievement. But he was so raw and inexperienced, and when you look at him and you break it down, it's like David Price, for all his talent, was stopped a few times in the amateurs. Joshua just looked so physically strong, imposing, athletic. Saw him on BBC Superstars doing all those dips and running the 100 metres. He's a natural athlete, a natural amazing physical specimen. So there's something to work with there, and he's got a very solid jab. He is still raw, but there's something to work on there to really kind of bring him into the top class. And all the kind of basics are there, really.
Will there be natural comparisons between him and Audley Harrison?
I don't think so, because Audley, much as I liked Audley on a personal level from the amateurs, he stayed amateur a very long time and ended up winning the Olympics almost by default to a certain extent. An amazing achievement, but a lot of his contemporaries turned pro. I mean, I remember seeing him lose to people like Mohamed Kamkur, the big Russian from the Fitzroy Lodge, knocked him sprawling out at York Hall, and I think Danny Watts beat him, who ended up kind of basically David Hayes' security guard, and Julius Francis, he had a hard fight with Julius Francis. You know, with Anthony Joshua, even though he's inexperienced, there aren't fights like that where even when he was learning, he was still bashing people up and beating good fighters like Joe Joyce, who's kind of the heir apparent on the Team GB. And I think Audley turned pro late, was a bit delusional. Well, some people say a lot delusional, but wanted to do it all his own way. He was kind of, whereas I think Joshua has got the right people around him and will be able to be moulded into a real potential superstar.
How marketable is he as a personality, Anthony Joshua?
Yeah, it's like before the Olympics he came into the Sky Studios, and I had a couple of tickets. I was taking my son to the boxing for the Olympics, and I just asked Anthony if he'd sign them, just, you know, and he didn't just sign it, you know, to whoever. He was like, grow up big and strong, I'll do you and your daddy proud in the Olympics. He's got something about him, some real personality, and he's a thoughtful, intelligent guy. I think he's just incredibly marketable. I don't think he'll have to compromise himself to be marketable. And yeah, I mean, like, he's got potential superstar written all over him. He looks solid, looks like he's got a good chin, good work rate, good fitness. Everything's there. He just needs to kind of someone to smooth the edges a bit.
And just finally, do you think that Eddie Hearn probably has a plan to fast track him and, you know?
Yeah, it's difficult with heavyweights, isn't it? Because you've got guys who look fat and out of shape and it's almost an embarrassment. And then it's dangerous matching with people like that, even though that's kind of part of your apprenticeship, because there'll be a backlash because expectations are very high. But then if you match him with the mid-level opposition, there's always a danger because heavyweights can punch. But I think the thing with Joshua is because he has looked tough, durable, and supposedly handled himself very well sparring with people like Tyson Fury. He's been around the pros as well as the top-level amateurs because he's fought on the best amateurs in the world. I think you can fast-track him, but it's always going to be a balancing act, isn't it? And really, it's got to be an organic process. You've got to match him reasonably hard, see how he gets on, and then go accordingly. You know, if he's struggling with somebody, then you drop him down a level a little bit, get his confidence back, and move forward. But you know, it's an organic process. But I would expect him in a couple of years to be up there, really. Yeah.
Okay. I know there's a review show on tonight on Ringside. Is Ringside finished now, though, after this?
No. So there's basically it's going to carry on all the way through the summer, but they're kind of Ringside specials. So the gloves are off. A couple of appearances which have been kind of updated, but also August 15th, leading up to Darren Barker's fight, we've been filming around with him, just doing an hour-long documentary, a bit like Behind the Ropes, and he comes across brilliantly in it. And so I've been filming a lot with him, spent a lot of time with him watching him train. He looks brilliant and really ready for Daniel Gill.
All right, Edwin, thank you very much for talking to us, and we look forward to the press conference.
Cheers, KUGAN.
Thanks a lot.